Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another edition of the Spurs Chat podcast. Tottenham Hotspur 3, Qarabağ 0. Goals from Johnson, Sarr and Solanke have sealed the 3 points for Tottenham Hotspur in the opening game of the Europa League stage. Now, we are recording on X, we are recording on YouTube and Facebook, so please do get involved. Give us your thoughts on today's game. Now, the match stats. Tottenham Hotspur had 49.2% of the ball to Qarabağ's 50.2%. Spurs had 10 shots to Qarabağ's 14. Shots on target, Spurs had 5 to Qarabağ's 5. Shots off target, Spurs had 1 to Qarabağ's 5. And block shots, Spurs had 4 to Qarabağ's 1. Touches in the opposition box. Now, this is a bit of an interesting stat. Spurs had 12 to Qarabağ's 28. Goalkeeper saves, Spurs 5, Qarabağ 2. Aerial duels 1, Spurs 10, Qarabağ 2. Fouls, Spurs 10, Qarabağ 9. And corners, Spurs had 3 to Qarabağ's 9. Now, we have got 3 very special guests on today's show. Back with us is Ricky Norwood, actor Ricky Norwood. Actor Ricky Norwood, how are you?
I am really good. Do you know what? This is the first time that I've been back in the stadium this season. The fact that we're back in the stadium and the fact that it's the first European game back as well has been super special. All of the crowd have been super special. The amount of conversations that I've been having, the amount of interactions that I've been having during tonight has been amazing. As well as the game, as well as getting 3 points in the bag, as well as getting 3 points in the carrier bag for the Europa League has been tremendous. So I'm really happy to be on tonight. And yes, I've had a couple of drinks, but it's Chris's dad's fault that I've had that many. And it's going to be Linton's responsibility to cover for me while I'm slurring like a mofo. I'm just saying.
Now, joining us for the very first time is Linton Should from South Africa. Linton, great to have you here. How are you?
I'm great, especially after a debut win, my debut on the show and a win. I couldn't be better. And yeah, Ricky seems to be in fine form tonight, so it should be fun.
Ricky is in always fine form. Now, Linton, what did you make of today's game?
Crazy, absolutely crazy game. End-to-end stuff. There's nothing like pragmatic football when it comes to Ange ball, that's for sure. You know, even after losing a player, it's sort of hot in the mouth stuff. So yeah, it was a crazy game. Really, it was. You know, you felt a lot more comfortable once that second goal went in, and then even more after the third one. But yeah, while we were 1-0 up, you know, it was certainly a difficult watch.
Also joining us is UEFA licensed football coach Gareth McGuinness. Gareth, how are you?
All good, Chris. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. It was a bit like London said there. It was a very, very interesting game. I thought it was tactically. I know we talked about it a lot of stuff tactically, Chris, but tactically it was mind blowing. I've never seen a team down to 10 men play the way the Spurs did tonight, where they kind of. It was as if the sending off didn't happen. I know he made a change. He brought Udogie in for Bergville, but he went about it the exact same way, and he went on the front foot, and he went very, very brave. And look, the result paid off, but Qarabağ had a number of chances, and against better opposition, we would have been in big trouble, I think. And that was the concern that, I mean, if we do that against better teams with 10 men, we'll be in big trouble. But look, it worked tonight, but I just don't know. I think I love Ange ball, and it was entertaining to watch and all, but I do think it was, somebody says, yeah, shades of Chelsea last season. It was a wee bit like that, where we were very open, wide open at times, and you could see how much energy the players used in the first sort of 60, 70 minutes, because the final 20 minutes they were out on their feet, and Qarabağ were getting more and more opportunities. So, look, great one, result-wise, but performance-wise, I mean, we've got to be better. I wouldn't say, you've seen what Arsenal did with 10 men against Man City. I don't think you should be that defensive, but there's got to be an in-between somewhere, where we were at the opposite ends of two spectrums. Arsenal were very deep block, you know, didn't really get out of their final third, whereas even when we won the ball back, we were committing 7 and 8 players forward. We only have 10 on the pitch. We were leaving 2 at the back. So very brave, but it could have been very like if it had a finished 4-1 to Qarabağ and it was like Chelsea, everyone would have been saying what was them tactics again. This is quite angry for the Chelsea game.
Well, you know what, gents? First and foremost, I've got to let you know what the announcement is saying is that the stadium's going to shut in 5 minutes. So myself and Chris will be escorted out by security at some point. But apart from that, you know what, gents? And you know what, Linton, I'm going to come to you first. You know, we was down to 10 men really, really early. I don't think the 10 men affected us. I think that almost spurred us on to kind of make sure that we got tonight's 3 points in the carrier bag tonight. It's a great way to start off Europe. It's a great way to start this European campaign. And I just want to know, Linton, how did you feel tonight about the fringe players that came in or the new players that came in, like Archie Gray, like Bergvall that came in, etc.? How do you feel that they performed? How do you feel about the result? And how do you feel about the way that Tottenham performed with a clean sheet tonight, which is, you know, a lot of Tottenham fans might dismiss, but it was definitely a clean sheet tonight. Linton, how do you feel about tonight's result and all of the kind of ifs, buts, and maybes that happened during the duration of it?
Look, definitely delighted with the results, especially after going down to 10 men so early. Archie Gray was absolutely phenomenal tonight. Really, he was really great. Bergvall, unfortunately, we didn't get to see much of him. Unfortunately, he looked absolutely devastated to leave the pitch. But you know, Archie Gray was phenomenal. Dominic Solanke, for me, was man of the match. He really, you know, he was all over. He worked so hard tonight. He linked up the play well. He dropped deep to help. He was even at times, you know, defending when he needed to. He really was all over the park, and I was so happy for him that he got a goal to top it off. But yeah, just generally so happy, you know, after going down early to get 3 points. I think we did exceptionally well.
Yeah, you know what? I totally agree with you, Linton. Gareth, how do you feel about today? You know, today was another mixed match type of starting lineup. It wasn't as mixed match as it was against Coventry, but it still was a change in the starting 11. Vicario came in, Gray came in, Davies came in at left back. The midfield was pretty Tottenhamish, Basuma and Sarr, but then the new boy Bergvall came in, and then we kept with the front three, which was Johnson, Solanke, and Son. How do you feel that we played tonight? How do you feel that we reacted to European football? And how do you feel that the 3-0 went down in the Tottenham camps tonight, Gareth, as a coach, my friend? And when I talk about coach, I mean like tactics, I mean like attitude, I mean energy. How do you feel we assessed ourselves or asserted ourselves against a top side against Qarabağ tonight?
We'll start with the starting lineup. I was quite surprised at how strong we went. If you look at the front three, that's the front three that's been playing in the Premier League. Johnson, Solanke, and Son, since Solanke's got back fit. So he kind of went full strength in the attacking area. First choice goalkeeper was there. Van de Ven, first choice centre back. Dragusin come in for the suspended Romero. So if Romero was fit, would Romero play? We don't know. So he definitely went pretty strong. Basuma and Sarr, first team regulars, you know, near enough. You know, Sarr maybe not so much this year, but he has started games. Basuma and Bentancur have been rotated, so that he's been a starter as well. So it was quite strong. I think it shows you that Ange is more interested in the Europa League than he is in the League Cup. Now,
does that give you confidence going into this the Europa League Cup? Do you know what I mean? Does that give you confidence when it comes down to the starting lineup, the way that he approached today? Does that give you confidence in us going a long way in this competition, Gareth?
100%. I think that I always expected them to go strong anyway in this, but maybe not so strong because we have Man United at the weekend and Qarabağ at home tonight. But I did expect them to go pretty strong in this competition. I think the Premier League and the Europa League has two main priorities. I do think the cups, I'm not so sure if he's as bothered about those, because realistically you can lose one game and you're out. Whereas in this league phase, I think he believes Spurs won their first 5 games. They're going to be through, aren't they? He might rotate it a wee bit more for the final 3 games. But it'll be interesting to see as the competition progresses, because at some stage he will have to rotate, depending on where we are in the Premier League, depending on where we are in the Europa League. But I do believe there'll be his 2 main focuses. The test will be because we've got Man City in the next round of the Carabao Cup, how strong will he go in that competition? Because if we've got Crystal Palace away and Aston Villa at home either side of that, so you've got 2 tough games. So I can't envisage him playing his best 11 3 games in a row. I don't see that happening. So it'll be interesting to see how he rotates there. But from a tactical point of view, Ricky, I'll answer the rest of the question. Normally when you get a man sent off, you sacrifice your style of play. You be more difficult to beat. You sacrifice possession and you be hard to beat, and you play in a counter-attack. But it was completely different, wasn't it? It was something I'm not really used to seeing. I know we've seen that Chelsea game last year, where he played the high line. He done it tonight as well. And I really do believe that if it had been Man City and we've been down to 10 men to play the exact same way, I do believe he will never change his tactics. You could say that's a sign of strength and his own belief, but then as that a sign of stubbornness as well, possibly.
Do you know what, guys? I personally, I don't think it's about changing the tactics. I think it's about keeping the philosophy the same throughout whatever formation or whatever tactic we put forward for the opposition that we're going up against. I don't think it's the same tactic for everybody, and I think that personnel changes that tactic that Postecoglou wants to put forward. But at the same time, Linton, how did you feel about tonight? About the young ones coming through? About Bergvar? I mean, you didn't get that long tonight, Bergvar. But how did you feel about him starting tonight? How did you feel about Archie Gray? How did you feel about Sarr tonight? How did you feel about Dragusin? I mean, the Dragon got a red card tonight. So I just want to know how you felt tonight, Linton, and how you felt like once that red card happened. Did you feel that we was going to collapse, or did you feel that we was going to galvanize ourselves and go forward and collect a 3-0 win and 3 points tonight? Linton, how did you feel about that?
Well, with Ange Ball, we're always going to be going forward. I mean, he even commented after the Chelsea game that if he's got 5 players, he'll play the high line. And, so you always know that Ange is going to push forward. I thought the youngsters really acquitted themselves well. As I've said, Sarr had a better game than he's been playing in a while. I thought, he stole the ball in the midfield that led to the first goal. So I think all the youngsters really played well. Dragusin, obviously, he was poor. It was him that missed the ball when he got red carded. So that was disappointing.
Do you know what? Just on that, Linton, do you think it was deserved? Do you think it was a deserved red card, Linton?
Yes, absolutely. I thought so.
Yeah, what about you, Gareth? Do you think it was a deserved red card? Do you think it was fair?
100%. Once you drag a player down, you're the last man.
Okay.
Obviously a coach as well, but also do a bit of refereeing. And once you're the last man, the referee's getting no option. He's denied a clear goal scoring opportunity. He's clean through with the goalkeeper. Laws of the game. Even if the referee doesn't want to send him off because it's early in the game, doesn't want to sport it, the referee's got no option whatsoever. And if he didn't send him off, VAR would have got involved anyway. So he was always going as soon as I seen it happen. And do you know what it is, Ricky? More so than per defending, it's just a lack of concentration. I think he's just let the ball run his foot. Spurs were comfortable, dominant in the game. He's just had a real moment of lapse of concentration, and that can happen to any player. And then he's always think that the worst thing you can do as a defender, and Gary Neville speaks about this quite a lot on Monday Night Football, is once you make that first mistake, don't compound it and make the second mistake. And he's made the second mistake and hauling him down. He would have been better off letting him run through and try to score. but I think he's so desperate to make an impact because he's not been on the team. He felt he maybe had to do something, and pressure come under it, and then he's compounded his misery. And let's be honest, it probably makes things more difficult for him to play now because he's going to be suspended in Europe, and he's got Romero and Van de Ven, his first choice in the Premier League. So it's going to be difficult for Dragusin. I think he would have been better off letting them go clean through. Even if he scored, it's only 1-0. It's 11v11, and you would have fancied Spurs to turn it around. But I just think it was that pressure of not being on the team and trying to make an impact, and he's compounded his first mistake by making the second one.
Do you know what? Like for me, I think Dragusin has got so much to give for Tottenham Hotspur. I think it was a lapse in judgment. It was a lapse in the moment. But you know what? For me, it never affected the way that we played. I didn't see Tottenham change the way that they played or bring on a player to kind of replicate what Dragusin done.
Ricky, the one concern.
What do you feel about that?
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Gareth. Do you know what? It's really hard to hear, so I can't hear as much as I want to hear. Go on, Gareth. Go on. Say what you're saying,
just before Linton comes back on there, the one concern other than the defensive tactics tonight is the energy we used. We looked very tired towards the end. It's a quick turnaround this Sunday. That'll be a big concern.
Yeah, go on, Lynn. What do you think about that, my friend?
Yeah, I agree with Gareth. You know, we've got a short turnaround. The guys really, 10 guys played like 11 tonight. So you could see they were really tired towards the end. So yeah, it's we don't have as Gareth said, it's a short turnaround to Sunday. So yeah, is there enough recovery time? We hope so.
So do you guys think that tonight's result can encourage and can inspire results going forward? Or do you think that it was a kind of bit of a mismatch and that we was lucky to get through? How do you feel, Gareth, about tonight's game?
Well, let's be honest, right? Spurs were heavy favourites coming into this. So if they hadn't won tonight, it would have been a big shock. The fact we were into 10 men, the players will probably think, oh, great result, 3-0 won. Great sort of, they stuck together. They worked very hard. That's one thing you would say. They were all getting forward, getting back quickly at times, even though we were a wee bit lopsided and out of shape at times. But you couldn't question the effort, the desire. I think the fans responded to that pretty well at times. It only went flat towards the last 15 minutes when it was clear that they were completely shattered and out on their feet. And that is the worry. The good thing is 3 wins in a row. Winning does breed confidence. The fact that they're only down to 10 men and got through it. But the big worry is energy. Man United played last night. Obviously didn't get a good result. There's a lot of negativity around Man United's performance last night, which won't help them. But the fact that they've had 11v11, changed the team around a bit, and they've had an extra 24 hours rest, and they're at home on Sunday. We've got to do a bit of traveling to Manchester as well. It all favours Man United. What happened tonight? The fact it was a late kickoff too, so we were kind of waiting around for the game. The game finished at 20-11 tonight. So realistically, we've got 2 days recovery before Sunday. The players will be going back later tonight. Probably tomorrow's session will be later in the day. So all these things have knock-on effects. It definitely didn't help Qarabağ either. So I have to be honest, it didn't help. There's 2 teams playing tonight, but just in terms of our perspective going on this Sunday, we're at a massive disadvantage now compared to Man United. So it'll be a real test for the players on Sunday. What's in the legs? What's in the tank? Because most of the players that play tonight will play on Sunday. It was a pretty strong team. Romero will come back in. Bentancur will come in. And then,
excellent. Thank you.
And then other than that, you're not really going to have too many more changes.
Yeah, Sonny really looked tired tonight.
We're about to be kicked out by security right now. But you know what? As we're being kicked out, Linton, I want you to talk to me about, this cup competition, the performance that we put in, the lineup that we put in. Linton, are you confident that we're going to go all the way with this competition? Are you confident that we're going to put our best foot forward regardless of injuries or suspensions or those that are eligible to play for Tottenham Hotspur before January? Do you think that we're going to go all out for this competition, Linton?
I do, absolutely. I think this is one of the competitions that Ange has prioritized. So I do think we're going to go all out. I think tonight's win has given us a lot of confidence, especially with 10 men. So, yeah, I definitely think that we've got a lot of confidence. And Ange, I think he's targeted, because he spoke before the game how good it is to be back in Europe. So, yeah, we're definitely going to target this one. And I think we've got a really good chance going forward of, going far in this competition. I think as well, because he went pretty strong tonight. He had quite a balanced side, and he went pretty strong. I think that shows his intentions going forward.
Yeah.
Gareth, let's come to you. Let's talk about the starting 11 because, of course, Ange Postecoglou made 6 changes to the starting 11 to the side that beat Brentford 3-1 here at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Vicario in goal, Gray, Dragushin, Van der Ven, Davis, Basuma, Sarr, Bergvall, Johnson, Solanke and Son. The subs this evening were Forster, Austin, Poro, Udogi, Bentancur, Madison, Kulusevski, Moore, Werner and Lancashire. Now, Ange Postecoglou made 6 changes. Were you surprised by these 6 changes? Because it is a very, very strong lineup.
Well, see, when you think about it like that, the 6 changes, it didn't feel like there were 6 changes because we put out such a strong team. As it says, you think you look at the bench there, Poro's a regular, Udogi's a regular, Bentancur's a regular, Madison's a regular, and Kulusevski's and Romero was suspended. So there's 6 players that probably all come back in. Of course, Udogi played more or less the full game because he came on for Bergvall, and that was unfortunate for young Lucas Bergvall because he looked like he was going to have a strong game. But it shows you that we're still strong enough to compete in at least 2 competitions, especially in this early group stage. You look at the fixtures. I don't see us having too many problems in these 8 league games. We're 7 left now. You think about Rangers away, you think that'll be tough because of the atmosphere they'll generate. Galatasaray away will be very tough, possibly the toughest game because the atmosphere they'll create as well, and it's never easy going to Turkey. English teams traditionally find it tough going there. But even Roma at home, I would be confident. I think we'll win all the home games. Ferencváros next week. I think the players will enjoy going to Budapest. Of course, I was there last week. The players will love that environment. I would expect us to go there and win. And the other teams don't really worry me in the group. So, look, I think we can possibly get away with changing 5 or 6 players every week in this competition and still being able to compete in the league. It'll be when it comes to the knockouts, because I'm expecting Spurs to qualify in the top 8, so they'll go straight through to the last 16. I think once you get to the last 16, you're going to run on the better teams, and that'll be the test. Will they go with the strongest 11 and that? Because we see what happened to Liverpool last year at the quarterfinal stage. They rested 4 or 5 players against Atalanta, and they got beat 3-0, and the tie was over. So it can easily happen. So it'll be more of a test, I think, Chris, coming on the February and March. I think we'll be okay rotating 4 or 5 players every week in this group phase. I think if you get 6 wins, you're guaranteed to finish in the top 8.
Guys, let's play with you. Let's talk about the match.
Forget the football, Chris. Me and your dad, we're looking for you, and we don't know where you are. Can you advise us, please?
Gareth, let's stay with you. Let's talk about the match incident. After 8 minutes, Dragushin got a red card. Talk us through that incident.
Well, as I said to Ricky, from a coaching point of view, the biggest mistake he made was just a lapse of concentration more than anything like a lack of quality. And then, as it says, once you make that first mistake, most players end up being, I've got to fix it, and they compound it with making the second mistake. And the second mistake really is the one that's cost us and cost him at least. It's going to cost him games now, because I don't think Ange is going to change the Romero and Van de Ven partnership in the Premier League. So Dragushin's he's going to be suspended for at least 1 game. I'm not sure how it works. It could be 3 games. I'm not sure, Chris. I'll have to look on that, but he'll definitely be suspended next week. And if he's suspended for 3 games, it's going to limit his game time. But I think he would have been better off. Right, I've made a mistake. Chase the player back. He might miss. Vicario was pretty good tonight. He might have saved it. And worst case scenario, even if he scores, it's 1-0 after 8 minutes. We'd have plenty of time to turn the game around. You saw how dominant we were in the first 60 minutes when we had 10 players anyway. So I think if we had those 11 players for the 90 minutes, we probably would have won by even more goals. So I'm very disappointed in him, because I just think he made that real rush of judgment, and the second one has cost him.
Linton, let's come to you. After 12 minutes, of course, Ange Postecoglou made his first sub. Bergvall off, Udogie on. What did you make of that decision? And, of course, shortly after, Brennan Johnson put Spurs 1-0 up, his third goal in as many games.
Chris, I thought that it was obvious how disappointed Bergvall was to go off, but I thought that Udogie would sit back in a more defensive role, but he played his normal role and his normal attacking role. So that was quite a surprise to me. And so I could understand the substitution, but seeing the way he played, I couldn't quite understand it there because, these guys, because of the attacking role that he played.
Yeah, it was quite strange, wasn't it? So usually when you make a change after a red card, they maybe shore up at the back a wee bit, but it doesn't change the actual style of play or we're still coming a lot of players forward. So usually, he didn't really have a centre back to bring on, so he had to bring on a left back, didn't he? And he moved Davis back. He moved Davis back inside, but he may as well play Van de Ven on his own at the back because at times he was isolated anyway. So he could have probably played Bergvall for a bit longer because if he had just kind of sat back a wee bit, you would have understood the back four. But it says it was more of a back two at times anyway. So Ange just says he's not going to change nothing, and I think tonight he proved it.
And that showed at times because at times we were caught short at the back. As you say, when we had the back two, we were really caught short there, and we were vulnerable there. Definitely, Van de Ven surely saved us a few times, and so did Vicario.
Well, that's it, isn't it? And when you think of Vicario's being criticised at times this year, I thought he made a number of outstanding saves tonight, and he really showed how good a shot stopper is.
Yeah, that one he made. When he came out, when Davies missed the ball, that was reminiscent of the Chelsea game as well, where he was more of a sweeper keeper, and then towards the end of the game, he really pulled off some brilliant saves.
Yeah, I tell you what, London, we're down to never mind 10 men, we're down to 9 men tonight with these two.
But how do you? Don't do it, Gareth. How do you feel about us going down to 9 men and then still controlling the game? Because even at 9 men, look, Qarabağ had a couple of chances, but we limited them to a couple of chances. How do you feel about us going down to 9 men and keep moving forward?
When do we get any 9 men?
Linton, how do you feel?
I think Ricky's back at the Chelsea.
I'm trying to get a trade
I think Ricky got on the Doc's time machine, and he's back in November 2023. There, he's talking about the football.
I'm trying to work that when we went down to 9 men.
20 minutes, I haven't.
Well, to be fair, maybe he's got a point. We were down to 9 men when Timo Werner come on.
I was just going to say that.
I think it's worth saying that the kickoff was delayed until 8:35, and this is the problem.
He's sideways there, coming around the corner.
Gareth, let's stay with you. Let's talk about Dominic Solanke. What did you think of him tonight?
Solanke? I thought he was outstanding, Chris. Really good. I think he's looking sharper and sharper as the games go on. His general link-up play was good. And as we spoke about this, Chris, on Monday night show, sometimes the best strikers score the easiest goals, and he gets himself, he reacts to the shot from Son. He's reading it. He's exactly what Son's going to do. He's going to try and bend it into the top corner. If he doesn't score and the keeper saves it, he wants to be in the right area. They tap it in. And that's 2 goals. Now he's been in the perfect position. And look, people will say they're tap-ins, but the best strikers in the world score tap-ins because they're reading the game. They're reading the scenario situations. And as a coach, that's wonderful because you always tell your players they gamble, and he's really, really, really good at those situations. And we've lacked a striker. Apart from Harry Kane, you think about the number of strikers before Harry Kane, your Soldados, your Vincent Janssens. Solanke's very, very good at getting into those situations and profiting off chances that are taken by our players. So look, if he scores 25 of those this year, Chris, I'll not be too bothered about wonder goals. It's all about getting in the right areas, and I think we finally. I wouldn't say, obviously, it's going to be very difficult to replace Harry Kane, but I think we've got one of the better options we could have got. They can replace him, and he's at the peak age of his career, 26, 27. He seems to be growing under that Spurs shirt. So really, really impressed, Chris, and I'm hoping it can only go better. I can only get better from here.
Linton, let's come to you. 5 minutes before the break, Qarabağ missed a glorious chance, and then a minute from the break, they had another shot wide. What did you make of Qarabağ tonight?
Chris, I think they played very well. You know, they weren't intimidated by the occasion, and they certainly, you know, they kept coming forward, and they really tested us at the back tonight. So I was impressed with the way they played. If they were more clinical, they could have scored a few goals. We're just very fortunate that they didn't.
Linton, how are you feeling at half-time, 1-0 up?
Nervous, extremely nervous. Yeah, I wasn't comfortable because they had a good few chances in the first half. So I was extremely nervous. I was really hoping that in the first 5 minutes of the second half we could score a second goal. It would just give us that little bit of breathing space. So I was extremely nervous at half time. Not comfortable at all.
Linton, what did you make of Sar's goal in the 52nd minute, making it 2-0 Spurs?
Yeah, very well taken. You know, he showed some great composure. You know, at the back, on the back post, as it came through, he hit it first time. He did very well. He read it well there, and then it came off the keeper, and then he just, coolly slotted it home.
Ricky, let's come to you in the 58th minute. Qarabağ had a penalty that they shot straight over the bar. What did you make of it?
You know what? I mean, at the moment, I was kind of outraged that they got awarded the penalty. I'm going to have to see the kind of replay to see if it was a legitimate penalty. But the fact that the guy justified, I think, was deserved, because the way that we were playing, we controlled those guys left, right, and center. They didn't have a thing. Do you know what I mean? They didn't have nothing to challenge us whatsoever. And that penalty was their only hope, and they missed it. So let's keep rolling. Let's keep rolling in this European adventure. Do you know what I mean?
Gareth, let's come to you in the 59th minute. Solanke had a chance saved by the goalkeeper. What did you make of that one?
Ricky's on his way to Watford, I think. So yes. Somebody phone Watford police and keep an eye out for a boy coming your way. There'll be a report out from soon. Sorry, Chris. The save from who? Sorry.
Solanke's chance in the 59th minute.
Yeah, it was actually really well won back in midfield, and then the counter attack was flying. I thought Son delayed it probably a second too much. I thought he should have played him on earlier, because it's about like we do a lot of scenario games, Chris, and you really want to take advantage of the transitions. So for anyone's not really sure, transitions basically when you're on the defense and there's a turnover of possession, and then you just attack very quickly. And it's something that a lot of teams practice right from the underage right through the professional football. So when that happens, you really want to take advantage of it, and it went perfectly. They delayed it really, really well, but probably delayed it a second too much, because what actually happened was when Son played the pass then to Solanke, it was a wee bit wider than he wanted to be, and his angle was cut off by the goalkeeper. So it was actually quite a difficult chance in the end, especially on his weaker foot. So I think if Son had played it a second earlier, Solanke would have been able to have more balance and probably cushion it on with his right foot. But it's just one of those ones where you want them to be perfect, and it was just under that. And Chris, I think that reminded me of a wee bit, although we were clinical tonight, that kind of reminded me of our games this season, where if we have that situation on Sunday against at Old Trafford, we really have to take advantage of it. We can't rely on, Man United. You can say what you want about them. I don't think they're a really, really top Man United team, but they're a much better team than Qarabağ. So if we get those situations on Sunday where there's a lot of turnovers and a lot of transition periods, because Man United are very much a team that play. You look at the goal they conceded last night, Man United, they're very much a transition team going forward and defensively. So what we got there at times when we won the ball back. And when we get at them, it's not in the situation.
Clinton, let's come to you in the 61st minute. Vicario made a great save from a header.
Hold tight. Wait. Can you hear me?
Yes,
can anyone hear me? Wait. But before you go on, bro, Gareth, before you move on, like, you know, you're talking about Man United and stuff like that. Like, the European games are different to league games. We also have to rotate our side. We also have to grow our side in competitive matches, which tonight was about. We came out tonight without our number one centre back, with a clean sheet, with Vicario in goal. And although you're picking out negatives, I think there are a lot of positives that this young side can use and can kind of look at as a stepping stone to keep moving forward. Do you know what I mean? This Europa game against Qarabağ is totally different than a game against Man United. And I think that this puts our young squad that are inexperienced in the Premier League and Europa League in a good stead, in a 3-0 stead that kind of goes, all right, cool, that gives them that kind of confidence moving forward. And even though Dragusin got a red card tonight, I still think that, like, there's a lot of positives. Rather than looking at the negatives, Gareth, that's what I want to look at. I want to look at the positives of tonight and going in. Like, tonight, we went in with a pretty much mix and match type of side. Not so much a B side, but a mix and match type of side. And we came out with a 3-0 win against the best Azerbaijani team that's going. I mean, we heard that from Chris's report the other day when he was speaking to the journalists and stuff like that. So the fact that we came out with a 3-0 win against, with 10 men, and that we still have our first teamers to go into the Premier League for that game coming up against Man United, I still think it's a positive step, Gal, rather than it being a negative step. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ricky, there are a lot of positives tonight.
Absolutely.
Personally, I think there is, mate. And the fact that Ange trusted these players tonight in the starting 11, I think is a major thing. You know, in a European game, in the first European game, to trust Bergvall in there, even though he only got, 11, 12 minutes, and that's because of the red card. That's not because of his performance. That's because of the red card. But the fact that he was in there, the fact that we did rotate the side, the fact that Archie Gray started at right back, and people might go, oh, why did we put more youth in? Well, because of the result against Coventry, because of the performance against Coventry. Ange said in his press conference that we can't go as many changes as we did against Coventry. He saw that error, even though that he believed that those players deserved game time. So in this European game, he has given those players game time. He hasn't totally changed the side. He's given those players game time to give them confidence, to give them something to build on, but also to make sure that we win this game and we get those 3 points in that carrier bag. You know what I'm saying?
Ricky, just before the game, Ange was interviewed on TNT, and he was asked about the youngsters, and he said he was more than comfortable to throw the youngsters in.
Does that give you a lot of confidence, though, Linton?
It does. It does, absolutely. If you not only are the youngsters talented, but they're also very wise, and they seem to make good decisions. They're very mature for their age, in footballing terms, and so that does give a lot of confidence going forward.
Ricky, let's come to you. Do you want to talk us through the third goal in the 68th minute?
Do you know what? I wish I could. Maybe it's better Gareth takes that I was talking to a lady to the left of myself, and I kind of missed the goal. I saw the celebration. The celebrations were great. To all the Tottenham fans around the world, the celebrations were great in the stands and on the pitch. But did I see the goal? No, I didn't. So I'm gonna hand this over to Gareth to save my backside. Gal, take this, please.
Oh, brilliant, Ricky! You just never know what to expect. You hey, top banter. Hey, I mean, you were standing around chatting. He's back to the match today. He was watching somebody else. But no, it was his earlier about Sonky, didn't we? You know, he was in the right position to score the goal. Sonny, when he caught it on the right foot, I thought top corner, like I thought it was going to be a trademark song goal. But Solanke was in the right area in the right time, and Sizzy, he actually, if you look at Solanke, the goal, and it's really, really good from Solanke, he's moving towards the goal as Son's had the shot, so almost predicting or getting himself into a position if Son doesn't score, I'm going to be there to tap it on. And it was a lot of that tonight that we seen on Saturday against Brentford too, Chris. The high aggressive press, that is a trademark with the Spurs team. They try and trap teams in that final third, turn it over quickly, and get towards the goal. You've seen it with the first goal tonight. Seen it with the first goal on Saturday against Brentford, and we've seen it for the third goal too. That really aggressive high press. They won the ball back and get at almost what's called a counter press. So again, you're pressing from a defensive point of view. They won the ball back and counter-attack, they score. So, look, I am delighted with the way the team's playing. You only have to go back a couple of years ago, Chris, where, you know, we'd have been sitting off Qarabağ in the first 15 or 20 minutes and then, you know, hoping they make a mistake for us to go and score, and then we'd be sitting back the rest of the game. And, you know, even with 10 men tonight, I think the fans enjoyed it. Maybe the last 10 or 15 minutes was a bit flat because, you know, we were tired. But up until that, I think the fans enjoyed themselves, and you know you're getting your money's worth going to watch Spurs at the moment. Entertainments, you know, the commentators on BT Sport doing the game are saying, you know, this is a brilliant watch, entertaining, great, you know. So I think they're all really, really good positives. And as this is only the Coventry game this year is the one game we've been pretty flat on. Every other game we've been very good. It's just been that lacking that clinical edge and making individual errors that's been costing us. I know Ricky's really positive. I think he's right to be positive. But when he asked me the last question, Chris, it was just so much that, you know, we're not going to play Qarabağ every week. We're going to play against better teams. So we've got to make sure we're better defensively. And when we get those counter-pressing opportunities, we got to make sure we get the scenarios right and the passes is right and the movements are right and we score. So, you know, that won't change. What's going to happen on Sunday will be the same. We're going to get into positions like that on Sunday because Man United are very much a transition team. So you know, it's going to be the same. We've got to make sure we're clinical.
But Gaz, do you think we're getting there? Do you think that we're on the precipice of this, like this totality of Ange Ball?
I think you're getting there, to be honest. But I don't know about the Spurs team. But no, I do think confidence is going. We're definitely Johnson.
That's because I've been drinking.
You only have to look at Brendan Johnson. Has confidence looks, you know, it's went from where it was last Wednesday before kickoff to how it is now at the end of Thursday night. He's had a brilliant week. Scored 3 goals in 3 games, 3 good finishes as well. You know, every one of those finishes were good. And he's getting into those areas to score goals. And he's not afraid to had his first time. So from where we were a week ago, I think we're in a really much a better position. But Sunday, Ricky, will tell the tale. If we don't beat Man United or lose that game, you know, all this negativity is going to come back because people's going to say, well, you should beat Coventry, you should beat Brentford, and you should beat Qarabağ, as you call them. So it all comes down to Sunday. If we beat Man United on Sunday, I think a lot of fans that were negative will get back on this Ange train. If we lose, we're back to square one.
I think also, if I could just come in here, I think earlier in the season, we weren't creating enough, and now we're creating many more chances than we did earlier in the season. So, and of course, Solanke's fit again, and he's getting up to speed, so he's able to finish.
Linton, let's stay with you because in the 78th minute, Vicario had to make yet another save in the game. How important was it for you that Vicario started in today's game in the Europa League?
Absolutely. If we look back at the Carabao Cup with Fraser Forster, he looked very, very shaky, and he clearly is out of match fitness. But yeah, so it was absolutely vital that Vicario played tonight, and yeah, towards the end he made some brilliant saves. So that was good. We needed him. We certainly needed him towards the end tonight.
Gareth, talk us through the offside goal. Of course, Qarabağ thought that they had got a goal back in the 78th minute. Of course, it was ruled off offside.
Hey, do you know what? People sometimes look at offside goals as bad defending at times, but see from a coaching point of view, it's fantastic. The line was perfect. They were all together and sync. That is practice when you're catching things offside. Sometimes people think, oh my God, we were lucky there. That wasn't luck. That was really, really, really really well worked in terms of defensive shape and getting under your shape and making sure that you're catching the attacking player offside. If you look at Aston Villa are one of the best teams at it. Sometimes they catch a team offside 20 times in a game. I think there was a game against Spurs towards the back end of a couple of years ago. Spurs was caught offside 23 times in the game. That's not luck. That's by design. And I think that was really, really good. They see the line all in the same hymn sheet, and really good defending. People will look at it and go free header in the box, but player was offside. And if you actually look at it, it was actually offside twice. The first one was offside, and that's the one that was really, really good, because if you looked across the Spurs line, every one of them was together, and the Qarabağ player was about 2 yards offside. So from that point of view, I would like to see us conceding more offside goals. It might sound strange, but that is what a lot of the top teams do. When teams score against them, it's because they're offside. So look, really good from a defensive point of view. That way, it was more the shots from distance. It was, Vicario was busy towards the end, and it was good for his confidence tonight. Chris, they see Vicario making all those saves because he's had a rough couple of weeks. He's had a bit of criticism, but I don't think anyone can take it away from Vicario that he is a fantastic shot stopper. It's the other parts of his game he's got to improve.
Gareth, lastly, talking about this evening, happy with what you saw today tactically from Ange Postecoglou?
More positives than negatives, Chris. Like you say, when you make changes, you can always get that wee bit of unbalance at times, Chris, when you're making so many changes. We've seen it last week, and we've seen 6 changes tonight, 8 last week. It was much better tonight than it was last week. So that is a positive. And as Ricky pointed out, we have rested some players. I know some players probably played longer than they would have played if we had 11 men. I think that's the only negative I seen was the energy was really, really flat in the last 10 or 15 minutes. And with a quick turnaround this Sunday, that'll be a huge test now for them mentally, physically. If we were to go to Old Trafford and win on Sunday, Chris, I think it would round off 2 brilliant weeks. And then we can get ourselves organised for the Budapest trip, which you're going on. I'm sure you're going to look forward to. And then finishing against Brighton. I think Brighton as well will be a huge test before the international break. Brighton's always a tough game. We know how they play. They won't be sitting back. They're going to go on the front foot. So we've got 3 huge games now before the international break, Chris, and we need to make sure we finish strong.
Linton, before we move on to the short preview for the Manchester United away game on Sunday, anything else you want to say on tonight's game?
No, I agree with Gareth. There's a lot more positives than negatives tonight. And yeah, certainly the finishing has become a lot more clinical, and the attack is really looking good. So I'm confident going forward.
So let's come on to the short preview for the Manchester United game in the Premier League on Sunday. At the moment, Tottenham Hotspur are 10th in the Premier League table, 7 points from 5 games. Manchester United are in 11th, 7 points from 5 games. Now, the last 5 games, of course, Tottenham Hotspur have drawn 1-1 against Leicester City, beat Everton 4-0, lost against Newcastle 2-1, lost against Arsenal 1-0, and beat Brentford 3-1. Manchester United's 5 results so far in the Premier League: beat Fulham 1-0, lost 2-1 away at Brighton, lost 3-0 at home against Liverpool, beat Southampton 3-0, home against Southampton and drew 0-0 against Crystal Palace. Ricky, let's come to you first on this. Now, Manchester United away, of course, we know it can be a very, very difficult place to go. Only 4 away wins in 32 away games at Old Trafford. How do you think this game's going to go?
For me, Chris, first and foremost, Man United are in a transition themselves. Aaron Ten Hag has got a couple of Ajax players, a couple of players that he trusts, a couple more players that he trusts back in that Man United side. I apologize about the sound and the train that's going on. There's a lot of kerfuffle going on. I'm trying my hardest. But yes, Ten Hag has got a lot of these players that he wanted in that Man United side. That Man United side are gonna be striving for greatness because it's Man United. They've got no other choice. But you know what? I truly believe that and this squad, these players, where we're at and where we're going is further along than where Ten Hag and Man United are at. The thing is that Man United will always spend money to try and make themselves in a higher profile, in a higher bracket than what they are. And the majority of the time, it works out. But you know what? With our
Chris, you're on mute.
Gareth, sorry, I think we've lost Ricky. How do you think this game against Manchester United will go?
Chris, I think it's a huge game for both teams. You look at the.
We've been better than them for many a season now, but it's time to go get our rewards. I don't know whether you can hear me.
Somebody says Ricky's talking to himself on the train. No, Chris, I think it's a huge game for both teams because you look at the table, both teams 7 points. We're definitely envisage having more points after these 5 games. There's a lot of pressure on both managers. I don't think Ange has passed the test yet of the negative or the fans that aren't convinced that he's the future. A lot of fans are still critical of his style. Of course, me, you, Chris, and a lot of the podcasters on this show are very much behind Ange. But there is still some in the background there. We'll be looking at Sunday's game as a litmus test and thinking, right, Ange convinced me that we can go to Man United and win. And if he does that, I think you'll get a lot of the fans doubting him back on side. And I think very similar to Ten Hag, I think he needs to win this game as well. I think there's a lot of negativity around Man United. They haven't been convincing in a lot of those games that you come up. Fulham game was a very per game, first game, scored late on. They won. Brighton game, they were second best in the second half against Brighton. Liverpool, they were totally outplayed. Southampton, they were outplayed until Southampton missed a penalty, and that changed the game. And against Crystal Palace, they didn't score, did they? So it'll be interesting to see. I can envisage Man United sitting back and letting Spurs have all the possession, and then trying to hit us in the counter attack with your Rashfords and your Diallos, Fernandes getting under the pockets in the transitions, and that'll be the threat because they know that'll be Spurs' weakness in the transitions, getting them behind them and causing problems. Whereas I think Spurs will be on the ball and try to play. So it's going to come down to who's the more clinical. I don't think it's going to be a comfortable one for either team. I think it'll be very, very tight scoreline wise. But I think the way the game goes, it'll come down to Spurs having all possession and Man United having us in the counter attack, and they are a good counter attacking team. So we've got to really make sure when we get into their clinical areas or get into the attacking areas of clinical. So I'm excited, Chris, because it's a big test for us. The turnaround's very quick, but it'll be a test of mentality as well. If we can come through Sunday with a win, I think it stands some really good steps for the rest of the season.
Gareth, do you know what? I don't know if you can hear me right now, bro. But who do you think's further along? Ten Hag on his journey, being the 3rd year in, or Ange Postecoglou, who's starting his 2nd season? How far do you think that these coaches are along their path to guide their respective sides?
The problem, right? Ten Hag, I think the trophies have saved him. He's got credit in the bank with the League Cup, the FA Cup. They didn't necessarily. I'd never watched United under Ten Hag and thought they were going anywhere. I think the FA Cup last year saved his bacon because they were awful in the Premier League. And I think with Ange, Spurs, there's a style of play, there's an identity. I'm not sure what Man United are trying to do. Are they a counter-attacking team? When they come up against teams they're expected to beat, they struggle to break them down. So, and then when they go and play the best teams away from home, they get absolutely battered. So there's a lot of question marks around Ten Hag. I think Ange's question marks are more about, the stubbornness, when they play against teams that are better than them quality-wise. He doesn't seem to change. When we play Man City, for example, he'll go toe-to-toe. And I think he's doing that as a long-term project to get the players to believe that we can beat anybody. Whereas Ten Hag, I'm still searching for the identity. He spent a lot of money, brought on a lot of players, and I don't think the recruitment's been great. He signed a lot of players he's worked with in the Dutch league, and I think they've struggled in the Premier League. So I do think we have got more. We have got, what's the word I'm looking for? We've got more scope for improvement, I think. Whereas I think Man United are basically floating, and a bit like how it was under Solskjaer. If it goes badly wrong in the next 6 or 7 weeks, I do think they'll bring Van Nistelrooy in the end of the season. I think that's why Van Nistelrooy is there on the coaching staff, because he's an experienced manager that's coached PSV. So they've got somebody there. If they have to have an interim at the end of the season, he's there. I don't think there's much confidence from the fans or the board at Ten Hag as the future, whereas I think Spurs are really behind Ange. The board is. The majority of fans are. You can never please everybody, but I do think Ange has got the majority of people on site. I think Ten Hag, they just couldn't really find a replacement, and they couldn't really sack him after the FA Cup. If he had lost that FA Cup final, I don't think he would be here. So I can see if United were to lose on Sunday and the next few results go badly after the international break, I think Man United could be having Van Nistelrooy in from Christmas to the end of the season. I really do.
But you know what? If Ten Hag won those FA Cups for Tottenham Hotspur, would we not be calling for him to have a statue outside the ground right now? Do you know what I mean?
Juan de Ramos.
And the reason, love.
Well, Ricky, Juan de Ramos won the League Cup, and he's arguably one of our worst ever managers. There's no statue outside for him.
I'm with you, Gareth. But you know what? The reason I ask you is because I know that you're a coach, and I know that you see things in a different light, right? But there's so many fans that talk about trophies or talk about the achievements or talk about our failings, right? And I really, truly believe that Ange is going to take us to new heights. I think he's going to push us beyond Pochettino. I think he's going to take us to glory. I really, really do. I really do believe him, right? But people will come back and they'll go, but they'll look at these things and they'll look at Ten Hag and go, you know what? But he's won 2 FA Cups. Do you know what I mean? And if he was at Tottenham, all the criticism that Man United give him, would Tottenham fans give him? Do you know what I mean? After winning 2 trophies, after we've been trophies kind of starved, I prefer the way that we're going with Ange, rather than just get 2 meaningless trophies that mean nothing. Gal, how do you feel? And we're going to switch over to Linton because I know Linton has to
Ricky, just quickly, it took quickly before Linton comes in. It took Jurgen Klopp 4 years to win his first trophy at Liverpool. Sometimes you have to be patient, but you could see with Liverpool, the trophies were coming, whereas we have to be the same. We have to stay patient. Even if we don't win something this year, if the performances are good and we're developing, then we have to stick by. So, those League Cups, the League Cup and the FA Cup that Man United won with Ten Hag are plasters, because realistically their league form shows they're not a very good team. I don't know how you feel, but I'll let you come on because you've been waiting for a while there. But, sometimes winning a trophy doesn't always mean that you're a really, really good team. It's about, progression. And I don't really see any progression with Ten Hag and Man United.
I agree with you, Gareth. I mean, as you said earlier, we've got an identity. Man United don't. So, and as you say, we have to be. We're in a project at the moment, so we're busy building, and every transfer window we're getting closer and closer to where Ange wants us to be. So we really have to be. We gave Pochettino a lot of time, So we need to give Ange the same amount of time at least, and just see, and we just have to be patient as long as we can see progress going forward. I think that's really what the fans want, is to see the progress as we move forward. And if we can see that, then I think the fans will be behind him.
Linton, remember, right? Arteta came on the Arsenal, and his first season he won an FA Cup, and he hasn't won anything since. But this Arsenal team now is levels above where that Arsenal team were. So, like, that FA Cup team that won were a poor team. They finished 8th in the league, and now they've a team that are challenging for the title, and they can't win a trophy because they've been unlucky a few times. So, trophies don't always mean you're a top team. You can win a single trophy and then disappear it. We have for 16 years. We weren't a top team in 2008 when we won the League Cup. We finished 11th in the league. So it's about getting yourself into a position where you can win and challenge for everything and multiple trophies. So we were there under Pochettino. Was Juan de Ramos a better manager than Pochettino for Spurs? Nowhere near it. But Juan de Ramos was more successful when you look at the history books. So it doesn't always mean that you're a top team because you won a trophy. Any team can have a decent run of results in an FA Cup or a League Cup, and you can be sick and you can win a cup. Don't get me wrong, I think if Ange did win a cup, it would really, really help him. But we've got to be patient. It might not happen this year. It might not even happen next year. But as long as the team's developing and getting better, I'm happy enough to be patient.
Gareth, I think the fans are impatient because they want the silverware. So, and that's where a lot of fans are frustrated, because you're right in what you're saying. I agree with you 100%. But I think a lot of the fans are so desperate for silverware, and so that's why they're impatient and they're not prepared to stick with the project. But we have to. I mean, after Ange, what are our alternatives? We don't have any. So we have to stick with the project and be patient.
Yeah, 100%.
Do you know what, Linton? How Tottenham perceived in South Africa? How was it being a Tottenham supporter in South Africa, dealing with all of the dramas that you have to deal with as a Tottenham Hotspur fan? It must be so much more easier for you to be Man City, Man United, or the Gooners. What is it like being a Tottenham Hotspur fan, and what made you a Tottenham Hotspur fan, Linton, being born and bred in South Africa?
So what made me a fan is the style of football, in the 1990s, watching a lot of those great players come through, and I really enjoyed the style of football. And there's just too many Man United, Liverpool, Arsenal supporters here. And so it's just, it's never boring being a Spurs supporter. We've got the ups, we've got the downs as we've experienced over the years, but we just got to stay true to today's to do, and we just stick with that. But I go through the same ups and downs, the highs and lows that you guys go through that side, and get frustrated, pull my hair out, but we just love the team, and that's it.
Do you know what? One more question before Chris takes over. But do you know what? Being out in South Africa and having other Premier League teams, being more successful, do you feel the pain of going in on a Monday morning when we've lost, and having to defend our team, and having to defend our manager, and having to defend our way of play and all of that stuff? Do you feel that being over in South Africa? Do you have to deal with the same stuff?
Yes, absolutely. It is, but by the same token, it's great when we have a great victory or we beat one of the rival sides. Then I get my turn back. So we've just got to take the rough with the smooth. But we have exactly the same banter here that you guys would have there. Absolutely.
Now, before we do get score predictions, let's hear from a guy that has won many trophies with Manchester United, an opposition preview by Paul Parker. Of course, he's won 2 Premier League trophies with Manchester United, 1 League Cup and 1 FA Cup. This is what he had to say ahead of the Spurs game.
My thoughts on the game at the weekend, Manchester United v Spurs, is that it's a tough one to call, in the sense of both teams are just maybe Manchester United have just kind of got themselves in a better frame of mind with performances against Southampton in the league and Barnsley in the cup. It's kind of given them a little bit more structure. There seems to be a little bit more in the pattern of play what's happening there, while Spurs have had a few ups and downs. They haven't been great so far, but they've done enough. Had a good win at the weekend against Brentford, which has done them well of good going into the Manchester United game. But then prior to that, they've got a very big game in Europe on Thursday for them, one which I'd imagine them being at home is that the fans will think they should be winning, especially going into a big game on Sunday against Manchester United. The two managers, I'd look at Ange, and he's very forthright. He's not a big fan of the media. The way he goes about it is something completely different. I think the media, people working there they do make sure, I should say, the questions they ask him is not going to make themselves look silly. Sometimes when he come out and said about, I always win saying in my second season, maybe not the right thing to come out and say. I think I heard it last season, or people were stating it because it's there on record, but it's a little bit different from where he's been before. And to make that statement, a little bit ill-advised really, or the fact of just himself in saying it. He's done it on his own, but they'll be waiting for him if it doesn't work out, without a shadow of a doubt. On Ten Hag, I'm glad that he didn't get the sack. I'm disappointed with the person who wrote that story before the cup final. Thought that was disgraceful, cheap. But I'm pleased that the club rewarded him. So I think with a new contract, which I think he deserved in a match, especially in the manner they beat City in the FA Cup. The only blip so far this season, I would say, was that performance against Liverpool. It's the only blip, and people were quick to decide that if he lost to Southampton, he's going to lose his job. But if you manage Manchester United, it doesn't matter what you do, win, lose, draw, you're always going to be the headline. And I think that's what upsets a lot of clubs, because what they do doesn't get anywhere near what Manchester United get via the tabloids. My favourite memory of the fixture is when we played them in the 92-93 season, and I scored against Spurs. Me actually being, was a kind of follow Spurs as a kid, and then to play for Manchester United and score for them against Tottenham. I mean, it still sticks out for me because I'm not a goal scorer. But anyway, that was my favourite bit about playing against Spurs, which is a big fixture at Old Trafford. It's just one of those games that I think everyone just loves. It's one that everyone looks at and see what the outcome is. And my score prediction is Manchester United to win. I'm going to say 2-1. Hope that's all right, Chris.
Gareth, let's come to you. What do you make of Paul's comments, and what's your score prediction?
Wasn't a very confident 2-1 there. How do you think about it? Look, I think he made some good points. I think Ange has put pressure on himself by saying that he always won stuff in his second year. But again, I think he's doing that for the mentality reasons. They get the squad thinking, look, we can be successful. So I think with Ange, he says one thing to the media and says he says another thing to the players, to be honest. Jose Mourinho apparently was very good at that. John Terry says, he would say one thing to the media and say something completely different to the players. So I think he's just being big and bold in front of the media, trying to get that kind of pistic media perception of Spurs out of the, Spurs are just going to turn up, play decent football and not win anything. I think he's trying to change that by saying all these things and getting that winning mentality, belief under the squad. But to be honest, the only way you can do that is they win. I think Paul said it right. It's going to be a tight game. Man United on their day, as they've shown against Man City in the FA Cup final, they can turn up and play well, but they've had more off days than good days. So you would back them. They'd not turn up more than you would. They would turn up, but I do think Spurs will suit them. They can play in the counter attack. The fans will accept that because they know how open Spurs are. It'll come down to us being clinical. I think tonight's worked against us with litter kickoff, the red card. That all swings in Man United's favour, but there is so much negativity around them at the moment, and you always feel Ten Hag's one result away from a disaster. Whereas I think with Spurs, even though Ange just had that difficult wee period there, most of the fan base I think are still behind him. Whereas I think with Ten Hag, it's very toxic, and if they were to lose on Sunday, I think there'll be a nervousness around Old Trafford, which can help Spurs. And if you look at our attackers at the moment, they're on form. Solanke's had form, Johnson's had form, Madison's in a wee bit of form, Kulusevski's playing his best football for a number of times since I've seen him in that number 10 role beside Madison. So I think we're in good stead. If we, Romero really needs to put on a performance. No good him playing well and then making another mistake. Set pieces, we've got to be watertight. But if we take our chances, Chris, I do think we'll win. I did say 3-1 the other night, but I'm going to rail it on a bit because of what's happened tonight. I'm going to go 2-1 Spurs in a very entertaining game. I think whatever happens, the neutral are going to love it because I think it'll be a very entertaining game.
Linton, let's come to you. What did you make of Paul Parker's comments there, and what is your score prediction?
Well, the thing that stood out to me, Chris, was that he said that they got confidence from the Barnsley and Southampton wins. I wouldn't take too much confidence from those two wins, but I think that shows that they are scratching around a little bit. I think that it's going to be a tight game, but I think if ever Man United are there for the taking, I think it's now. And I think we've definitely got better attacking options. I think we're much better going forward. As Gareth says, if we can keep it tight at the back and keep the set pieces tight, I agree with Gareth. I'm going for a 2-1 win.
Well, let's hope that Spurs can make it 4 wins out of 4 because, of course, we beat Coventry, we beat Brentford, and now this evening we beat Qarabağ. And let's hope that we can make it 4 wins out of 4 by beating Manchester United in the Premier League on Sunday. Linton, you've been a great guest. Thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find you on social media? What are you up to at the moment?
Okay, so I'm on X at Linton S68. I'm not on social media a lot. I don't tweet a lot, but I am there. And that's me watching and supporting Spurs.
Well, thank you so much for all of your incredible support, Linton. I know you're a big fan of this show, so thank you so much for coming on. Gareth, where can people find you? Yeah,
Chris, you can usually find me on here because I've been on a lot pretty much, so that's always been good to come on and get my tactical insight, of course, and good that you always ask me on. I love talking Spurs, of course. You can find me on Twitter there at Qarabağ Hotspur. As I said, I think I agree with the viewers' comment there. It's been pure entertainment. Linton's probably enjoyed it. Is this your first show, Linton?
Yes, my first show. Absolutely loved it.
A proper memory for you, I think. You'll never forget it. But you can easily find me on here at Qarabağ Hotspur. You'll get all my views on football, Spurs, and much more else. And also the podcast. You'll find the podcast on YouTube at 12 Man Podcast. We'll be probably recording a show tomorrow ahead of the weekend's Premier League football. It's a very different type of show to yours, Chris. Always not so much Spurs. It's all Premier League teams, of course, in Ireland. We've got so many Man United, Liverpool fans, so it's catered more for them. But of course, Man United playing Spurs this weekend. That'll be our main focus. That's a big game of the weekend. So looking forward to talking about that. I'll be hearing from Man United fans, and they'll probably tell me that they're coming for Spurs. But I'm sitting there quietly thinking we're coming for you. So don't sleep on that one, mate, as Ange would say.
Well, thank you so much to Ricky Norwood as well. I know we've lost him on the train, but obviously he's been great company at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium this evening. Linton, Gareth, Ricky, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for watching, everyone, and thanks for listening, and thank you so much for all of the support. And until the next time, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.